have 15 times 37. 7 times 5 is equal to 35. 5 times 3 is 15. And 15 plus 3 is equal to 18. I'm going to bring down my 0. 1 times 7 is equal to 7. 1 times 3 is equal to 3. I'm going to add everything together now. 5 plus 0 is 5. 8 plus 7 is 15. 3 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to 5. So I have 555. Okay, and I need to multiply these two numbers. 1 times 3 is equal to 3. Now I'm going to divide. Looking for space in my notebook. So I'm going to divide right here for you guys to see. I have 555 divided by 3. I know that 3 can go into 5 once. I subtract. 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. Bring down my 5. 3 can go into 25 8 times. Because 3 times 8 is 24. 5 minus 4 is 1. I bring down my 5. And 3 can go into 15 perfectly 5 times. Because 3 times 5 is equal to 15. I subtract, I get 0. So my final answer is 185 feet squared. So I'm going to write that down. 185 feet squared. Now, I am not done because this is a multiple step problem. So that means next I need to figure out the dining room. So I'm going to write dining room right here. And I am going to multiply these two numbers together to get my answer. So I have 10 and 1/4 times 10 and 1/3. Okay? 4 times 10 is equal to 40. 40 plus 1 is 41. So I have 41/4. And then 10 times 3 is 30. And 30 plus 1 is 31/3. Okay? Now, I need to multiply these two numbers together. So I have 41 times 31. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. Bring down my 0. 3 times 1 is 3. And 3 times 4 is 12. I add everything together. 1 plus 0 is 1. 4 plus 3 is 7. Bring down my 2. Bring down my 1. I get 1,271. And 4 times 3 is 12. So now I need to divide. I'm going to divide for you guys to see. So I have 12 divided by 1,271. Okay. 12 goes into 12 one time. I subtract, I get 0. I bring down my 7. And I notice a lot of students are getting this wrong. You need to figure out how many times can 12 go into 7. And it's 0 because 12 is bigger than 7. There's no way that can happen. So I'm going to put a 0 and I need to subtract that 0 because if I don't, you're going to get a number here that doesn't make sense or you forget to put your 0 here. So make sure you're doing that. So 7 minus 0 is equal to 7 and then I bring down my 1. So I need to figure out how many times can 12 go into 71. 12 can go into 71 about 5 times, right? Because 12 times 5 is equal to 60. Just so you guys can see that. So I'm going to subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1. 7 minus 6 is 1. So my remainder is 11. And my denominator is 12. Your remainder will never be more than your denominator. Okay? Just so you know. So I have 105 and 11 twelfths. I'm going to write that down. 105, 11, 12 feet squared. Now, I am not done because now I need to add those two numbers together. I'm going to add 185 and 105 and 11 twelfths together so that I get my final answer of how much carpet I need. So I'm going to add those numbers together right here for you guys. We have 185 plus 105 and 11 twelfths. Okay? So 5 plus 5 is 10. 8 plus 1 is 9. 1 plus 1 is 2. I get 290 and 11/12. I don't have to add anything there because there's no other numbers for 1 and 8/5. So she will need 290 and 11/12 feet squared. That is your final answer. Now, for problem 4, it says Fred cut. Let me close that. I will explain to her later. Number 4, Fred cut a 9 3/4 inch square of construction paper for an art project. He cut a square from the edge of the big rectangle whose sides measures 3 1/4 inches. See the picture below. What is the area of the smaller square that Fred cut out? So I need to figure out what is the smaller square that he cut out. So I'm going to multiply length times width. And I'm using this square right here. This is the square they're talking about. Okay, so area is equal to base times height, or you can say length times width. I'm going to use base times width. Okay, so I'm going to multiply my numbers 3 1/4 and 3 1/4 because this is the square that I'm measuring right here. Just so you guys can see that. So I'm going to multiply those two numbers together, 3 1/4 times 3 1/4. I know that 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 is 13 over 4. So 3 1/4 are the same, so it's 13 over 4 for both of them. Okay, now I know that 4 times 4 is equal to 16, but now I need to multiply 13 times 13 to get my answer. So I'm going to do it right here, 13 times 13. 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 1 is 3, bring down my 0, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 1 is 1, I add everything together. 9 plus 0 is 9, 3 plus 3 is 6, bring down my 1, I get 169 over 16. Okay, now I'm not quite done yet because I need to figure out what is my mixed number for. Okay, so I'm going to divide 169 divided by 16. 16 can go into 16 once. 16 minus 16 is 0. Bring down my 9. 16 cannot go into 9. So you need to make sure you put your 0 when you see that. Oh, that was a little blurry. Okay, now I'm going to subtract because 16 times 0 is 0. I'm putting my 0 here. 9 minus 0 is equal to 9. So my remainder is 9 and my denominator is 16. I get 10 and 9, 16. So I'm going to write that down. 10 and 9, 16 feet squared. Oh, inches squared. Need to make sure my units is correct. Inches squared. Okay, so that is my area. I'm going to box that so you guys know that is the answer. And now I'm going to move on to the next problem, which is problem B. What is the area of the remaining paper? So now I need to figure out all of the rest. How do I get all of the rest? Well, I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to write area is equal to base times width, or you can think of it as length times width, up to you. And now I'm going to multiply 9 3/4 times 9 3/4 to find the rest, and then I'm going to find out the remaining paper that I'm going to add. So I'm multiplying these two units first. 9 3/4 times 9 3/4. 9 times 4 is equal to 36, and 36 plus 3 is going to give you 39. Okay, and 39/4 times 39/4. Now I'm going to multiply 39 times 39. And if you figured out a different way, or your mom and dad taught you a different way to solve for these problems, perfectly fine. As long as you're getting the same answer, then I don't mind which method you use, okay? So if this isn't the method you like to use, for example, if you rather prefer in decimals, then you can do in decimals. Or if you prefer to stretch it out and add, then that's up to you. or you prefer to draw out the images, then you can do that too. So 9 times 9 is 81, 9 times 3 is 27, 27 plus 8, 35. I have to think about that. Bring down my 0. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. So 1 plus 0 is equal to 1. 7 plus 5 is equal to 12. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 again is 5. Bring down my 1. So I get 1,521 as my final answer. So I'm going to write that down right here, 1,521. And I am dividing it over 16 because 4 times 4 is equal to 16. Now I'm going to divide. I have 1,521 over 16. I know that 16 can't go into 15. So I'm going to see how many times 16 can go into 152. I need to figure out, in my head, maybe I want to round 16 to 20 or round 16 to 15. And then figure out how many times would that go into 152. I'm thinking about maybe 9 times, looking at the number and kind of like estimating. So 16 times 9. 6 times 9 is equal to 54. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 5 is 144. So I'm going to put 9, and that's the highest I can go. So I can't put 10 there. I'm going to subtract. I can't subtract 2 minus 4, so I'm going to borrow from my neighbor. 12 minus 4. Don't forget to bring down your 1. It's going to give me 8. 5 changes into 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. 1 minus 1 is also equal to 0. So now I have 81. Okay. I need to try to figure out how many times do I think 16 can go into 81. And I'm going to try 5. 6 times 5 is 30, and 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 80. So I'm going to use 5. I subtract. 81 minus 80 is equal to 1, so my remainder is 1, and my denominator is 16. So my final answer is 95 and 1/16. 95 and 1/16 inches squared. Now, I'm not quite done because I still need to make sure that I am adding the other 2 pieces together. So I have this piece right here.